Hey guys, what's going on? So welcome back to my channel. So in today's build, I feel like that's just like my intro now. I don't know. What do you guys think? Anyway, today in this build, I found a photo online of like an actual house, and it just really inspired me to create this house. So the house in the photo that I found had planter boxes on the windows, and I was like, oh my gosh, I never use those planter boxes. Like, I very rarely go into that little category where, what is it? I don't really know what it's called because, again, I never really use it, but it's like not in the build by, well, it's obviously in build by, but it's not where the furniture is. It's like where like the plants and the pools and the walls and things like that are. But it's like all of your outdoor, like exterior decorations are. So I'm horrible at explaining things. I'm really sorry. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, duh, I forgot about these little planter boxes. They're so cute. So there I placed one on the downstairs. I think I placed one on the other side of that little left part of the house as well. There's another window back there that I ended up placing. And then I sized down those three up on the top floor. And I guess I could just kind of start explaining to you guys the household that lives here, because I don't know if you guys already know, but on Mondays is when I typically will upload my speed builds. And then Tuesdays is when I will typically post a household, unless stated otherwise. But for the most part, I try to create a household that goes perfectly with the house, kind of depending on lot traits or items I place in the house. If I have a child sim that is a geek, then I want there to be video games and things like that available to them. So I had just recently gotten the Snowy Escape Pack, which I'm loving a lot. I really like how simple a lot of the items are. It's got a lot of good swatches. I really like wood swatches, so there's plenty of those here. I mean, that's basically all of the swatches are when it comes to like the furniture and things. So with that being said, I really wanted to create a family that was more like Japanese inspired, or influenced, I guess it's kind of the same thing. But anyway, it ends up being a single mom and her two boys. This house, especially with the planter boxes in the windows, to me, it just really seemed like a mom house, whether it was just maybe not a mom house, but a house that a woman lives in. So to me, I was just kind of like, it's either going to be a woman that lives here, whether she's on her own or with a partner or with kids. And then I decided I don't have any single moms, or any single parents in general in any of my worlds. So I figured this would be perfect for a single mom. And I just figured it would be kind of fun to kind of throw in some boys into it. So anyway, the family, their last name is Kato. The mom's name is Jin. She's proper, neat, and a maker. At the time of creating her, I was like, oh, well, she'll just be into knitting. But I don't actually know if that's considered to be one of if you're into knitting, if that even counts towards the maker trait. I know with the maker trait, it's more like candle making and juice fizzing and things like that. So I guess I probably should have kind of tried to figure that out. I do have her working on knitting currently, so by the time that this family is available on the gallery, she will have her knitting skill up a little bit, but I might need to change her aspiration then. So her aspiration is, oh wait, that's not an aspiration, that's a trait. So I might need to change that trait is what I'm trying to say. And she is a Renaissance sim, or that's what her aspiration is. So yeah. And then currently her overall aspiration is to be a Renaissance sim. So I think that's where your sim just wants to be good at everything kind of at one time. I think that's basically what the description is. And by the time that you download this family off of the gallery, if you do decide to do so, she will be done studying communications, and she will have her communications degree, and she will be working in PR. And I hadn't messed around with that career at all yet, so I just kind of wanted to see what it was like, and it's pretty cool. I thought it was going to be slightly more mundane, but now she's getting famous and all this stuff. So honestly, personally, when it comes to my own gameplay, I don't really like to deal with my Sims becoming famous just off of selling, their art. it makes sense, but I don't know, it's just not really my cup of tea. So I might end up turning that off, but yeah. And then I pictured her two boys being really close in age. So the youngest of the two boys is Ren. He is self-assured and he has the mental aspiration. And then her older of the two is named Kenji, and he is active, so reasonably so, he has the motor aspiration. So there's like a basketball hoop in the back, which I hadn't placed in any of my worlds yet or any of my builds yet. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. But here, now that we're on to the floor plan, I decided to keep it in this build. So tell me what you guys think. I did struggle with it a little bit. I really wanted it to be 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, whether there were 2 bathrooms upstairs or a bathroom upstairs and a bathroom downstairs, but there just wasn't really much space for me to kind of work with, and I didn't want to make the house much bigger than it already was because I kind of like the shape of it on the outside. So I end up placing, 1 bathroom upstairs. Currently it looks like 2. It's like the 2 smaller rooms off to the now it's okay. Well, it's all over the place, but it's 2 of the smaller rooms up here. And I really wanted the mom to have her own bathroom just because she is sharing with 2 boys. And honestly, I feel like a lot of the times, the way that my gameplay works, all of my Sims have to go to the bathroom at the same time or have to shower at the same time. So I just kind of wanted to give them some separation, and, she is living with 2 boys, so I just kind of wanted her to have her own bathroom. Like, personally, even if I was living with girls or whoever, I would want my own bathroom. So a lot of the times I do try to incorporate an ensuite bathroom for master bedrooms, but in this build, it didn't work out too well that way. I do love the way this build turned out, though. So upstairs, she has 2 doors, obviously a door to her bedroom that leads out into the hallway, and then a door that leads into the bathroom. So even though she does have to share the bathroom with her sons, she does have her own like private access to it. And then down here, now that we're moving on to the kitchen, I guess I can talk a little bit about that. So I really wanted to have this open floor plan concept in the sense of like, I wanted the kitchen table to be, or like the dining room to be open to the kitchen. But then I felt like it was weird having the living room / family room be closed off. And then I had all this kind of like dead, awkward space in here. So I end up creating a foyer, which later on in the build, once I'm already like play testing and just kind of messing around with this family, like boosting their skill and their relationships with each other, I was like, I changed a few things along the way. So I end up making the foyer a little bit longer, or actually kind of a lot bit longer. It ends up being like almost its own room essentially. And it kind of kills some of this dead space that I end up having in like this dining room foyer area, which that comes not way later in the build, but later in the build, because at that point, like I said, I was already playtesting and just kind of messing around with things. So I don't know, I just figured it would be really nice to have this not open floor plan, but I wanted the kitchen to be open to the dining room just because I kind of imagined the mom, cooking while the boys, whether they're doing homework together or with friends. I just thought it would be really nice for that to all be kind of like one room so they can all maybe like listen to music or talk, kind of still being in one room though. And I end up just placing a half wall on either side of the kitchen. So instead of having that archway here, I'm placing, a little half wall. And I don't know. I really like the way this build turned out. I didn't go super all out with the backyard just because, again, like I mentioned earlier, I did kind of recreate this house off of a photo of a real house in real life. And in the front, there was lots of pretty landscaping. And a lot of the times when it comes to me landscaping, I've mentioned this in some of my other builds too, I'm not super great at it. I need to kind of see a photo to really get an idea. And I don't always perfectly recreate photos that I see, but it gives me kind of an idea and more inspiration. So in that photo of the house, there were rocks kind of mixed in with the greenery. And I really liked that. And I was like, how have I never thought of that before? Because lots of greenery, in my opinion, is really pretty. Like personally, one day when I own my own house, I would love to have lots of plants. Some overgrown, some not, kind of like that clean, overgrown aesthetic is what I really like. So, in my builds, I do try to incorporate that a lot. But sometimes I feel like it looks like too much greenery. So once I saw the rocks in there, I was like, oh, duh. Like, I just don't really use the rocks very often unless I'm building in like Oasis Springs or something. So, which is so silly because rocks are everywhere. It's just part of Earth. So, you can kind of incorporate it wherever. It doesn't need to have anything like based on like the worlds or anything like that. So here I end up placing these darker bookshelves or bookcases. I end up completely changing that. I was like looking at it and I was like, I don't like it. So I ended up moving on upstairs. So now we're working on the boys' room. So with Kenji, the older of the two boys, being really active, and like I said, there's a basketball hoop in the back that I end up placing. I really wanted their room to be kind of sports themed. And even though the other son doesn't have the active trait, he still does enjoy playing basketball as well. So it kind of works out for the both of them. I end up placing one of those activity tables in here. Or is the activity table, is that considered? I think the activity table is where you do the arts and crafts. I could be wrong though, but you see I placed that little play table there. I end up putting a body length mirror in here. I do jump around a little bit in this build. I apologize. I'm sorry. I try to keep that in mind because I'm sure it makes some people nauseous. So just know I do try to keep that in mind, but sometimes I just get a little carried away and I'm like cluttering things up, and then I'm like, oh, this clutter would go great down here and things like that. But I clutter up this room just a tad. It's not too cluttered or anything. I mean, those toys end up in inventories typically, so that's one less thing you have to worry about actually being cluttered up. And then I end up placing this little stuffed animal on top of this little chair here, which I thought was really cute. I usually place those little toys or those little monster decorations either on like the edge of a bed or something like that, but this time I was like, oh, I'm just gonna place it on this chair. And then I forgot your sim still ends up sitting on the chair, so it's still a functional chair even though that's there. And I think I'm pretty much done cluttering up this room. But what I kind of envisioned for this family was the mom isn't into super bright colors, but kids, they're typically a little bit more colorful and a little less matchy match. So their room is pretty colorful. The kitchen cabinets and counters, they're obviously blue, so that is more colorful, but I figure that's just a fixture almost in the house, so it's not really like something she chose. It just happens to be the way that the house was. So her room is a little bit more toned down when it comes to colors. There's no real pop of color in here, which I do kind of regret. I always do try to have some sort of pop of color, but realistically, not everyone likes having a pop of color. There's lots of people that are super minimal and just like everything to be all white or all dark tones or, a mixture of the two, but it's still not quite considered a pop of color. I do put some greenery in this room, so I guess we can consider that to be slightly a bit of a pop of color, so it's not super bland. But I feel like that's how this room is. It's just very bland. And to me, bland isn't quite like plain. It's more boring and not super tasteful. But I do think it ends up turning out just fine. And honestly, playing in this house with this family, I feel like this mom totally goes with this aesthetic in here. So it all ends up working out just fine. But I don't know. Anyway, one thing I was wondering about these nightstands. So this is now the second time I've placed these nightstands into one of my builds. And plants and like smaller items clip onto the nightstand, but I don't know if it's just the lamps that I've been trying to place on there, but I haven't had any luck getting any lamps to properly click. I have to manipulate the lamps to be on the nightstand, which is fine. I've got the OMSP shelf and, I also have my move objects on so I can raise and lower things as needed. But I don't know, I just feel like realistically a lot of nightstands end up having some sort of light source on it. I'm sure a candle would have worked just fine on there because it is smaller. And I feel like candles typically clip to things like shelves and whatnot. So I guess I could have messed around with a candle, but I really wanted a lamp there. So I don't know. What's up with those nightstands? Do you guys know what's up with that? I just thought that was kind of weird. Here we're moving on to the bathroom, which we're pretty much done now. But kind of what I was thinking for this was I wanted this mom, her boys is the only family that she has. So even though she shares a bathroom with them, I figured she was just kind of like, you know what, we can decorate it however you guys want. And I never used this swatch for this shower tub combo. So that's kind of where I started. And then I kind of decorated it from there. And I really like that swatch because, what is it, it's baseball. So I felt like that just kind of goes with having her two boys. They're a little more on the active side. So I felt it only made sense. So she kind of sacrificed having a nice bathroom, to make her kids happy. So I was really happy with what I did there. And then here is where I'm fixing up the living room. I love the way the living room ends up turning out. I placed these two bookcases, which was what I was going for initially, but then I ended up placing a larger fireplace. And the couches I use, I know I mentioned, she's not into like crazy colors, but this is more of like a muted blue. I love color in my house. Nothing too crazy, but I have a super colorful rug and I have a couch that's like kind of navy blue. It's kind of similar to this, but it's more navy. And so I personally love color, but this to me is more of like a muted blue. So I felt like it still kind of goes with her aesthetic. And I did clutter up the living room a little bit here. I ended up adding more items to this living room later on, which does make it into the build. So you'll see it at more toward the end of the video. But when I was playtesting with this family, I have plenty of activities here for both the kids and the mom, but I just felt like this family was always miserable. Like their fun needs were always so low. And so I ended up replacing the TV. I don't know if I already did. No, I didn't. But I ended up placing a better TV that kind of raises the fun need up a little bit quicker. And I do end up placing a video game console in here as well. So there's that for the boys. There's the mom too can play, but mostly for them. And then I place, what else did I put in here? I do place some like the Lindsay smart speaker or whatever into this little area. We'll kind of get to it later, but I'll just kind of explain where the half wall in the kitchen meets like the foyer or the staircase. I end up placing a little table there with a candle and a plant, and then I place the speaker there as well. But yeah, it really needed some improvement with their fun needs. It was just always like really low. And I was like, I'm constantly doing things. Like I'm not making them work hard at school and at work and things like that, but their fun was just still so low. So I added a few more things later. And I do that a lot too in my builds. You guys will notice over time, or if you look at some of my older builds, but I will place things and then I'll be playtesting and then I change something. So then I start a screen recording again. So you might notice sometimes I'll have, a sim sitting on the couch or a sim standing in the kitchen, because I'm literally like mid-game play and I'm like, I just need to change this. So I ended up, I placed the console later. I placed some more clutter later on. And then I placed a hot pot later too. I knew that was a new addition to the kitchen appliances with the Snowy Escape Pack, but I just hadn't used it yet. And then I was like, oh, cool, they can make, these different soups and stuff in there, which I was always wondering why my sim wasn't able to make those items like on the stove. And so later I was like, oh, duh, that makes sense. So yeah, I just thought that was, I don't know, I'm really enjoying my new packs. I have recently, like I said earlier, I got the Snowy Escape Pack, and I had also gotten Strangerville, Paranormal Stuff, and City Living recently too. So I've just been having a lot of fun with all this new content. I used to play with a lot of CC in the past, and it kind of ruined the gameplay. It was very glitchy. My computer got super slow from it because at the time I didn't have a gaming laptop, and I still don't, but my computer now was just way better than my old one. So I don't know, I have a lot of fun when it comes to like mostly like build buy items is what I was always getting when I was downloading CC a lot. Here I end up placing this unclipped chair with this table here. As you guys had saw earlier, I had that dining room table cluttered up a little bit with like a lunchbox and that little pen or pencil jar. And I ended up moving it. I just figured it'd be kind of nice. I didn't really want to put an island in there. I felt like it would be too bulky. So I just placed a little matching swatch of like a smaller version of the dining room table in there. Here's where I ended up placing the console. I placed the little knitting, what do you call it? It's just a decor item. It's like the little rolling, I mean, what is that really called, honestly? That thing. Okay, whatever. And anyway, I end up really liking the way that this turns out. So, oh my gosh, we're already on screenshots. Okay, well, I just need to pay attention to my builds a little bit more. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on your post notifications so you're aware of when I upload. I do, like I said, upload every Monday, but then at least this way you stay up to date. You know, life gets busy and whatnot. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in a future build. Bye. Just have a little sip.